I would not, this is Leah. All right, I would like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Housing Commission's May 7th, 2025 regular Housing Commission meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with Housing Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating in the Oak Conference Room and via Zoom. I will call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. All right, I would like to introduce staff and Housing Commission members present. Management Analyst Adam Patterson and Management Analyst Ariana Milton. I will now do Commissioner roll call. Commissioner Bailey, present. Commissioner Dumont is absent. Commissioner Cranen,
Yeah, present.
Commissioner Auersler,
Richard, yeah. Here.
Commissioner Portillo, Commissioner Switzer,
Present, and I will be utilizing the traditional Brown Act for this meeting. And my location is posted on the agenda.
thank you, Commissioner, and Commissioner Wong.
Here.
All right, Adam, would you please provide instructions to the Housing Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Commissioner Bealey and members of the Housing Commission. Welcome everyone to the May 7th regular meeting of the Housing Commission, and thank you for attending. Staff will engage cameras and microphones to make presentations and respond to members of the Housing Commission. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment on an item on tonight's agenda, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on. For virtual participants, please engage the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. For those who are calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9. For those in person, please complete a speaker card and bring to the desk here. That concludes the instructions, and I return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Okay, so next item is public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the Housing Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Housing Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. The Housing Commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Housing Commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Ariana, do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment at this time.
Okay, so let's move on to regular business. Under regular business, the Housing Commission receives informational presentations in addition to considering policy matters and administrative actions. So our first item on the agenda is item D1, Commissioner introductions. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our new commissioners joining the Housing Commission this evening. With 3 currently present, we would like to take a few minutes to give each of our new commissioners a chance to introduce themselves. Please feel free to tell us anything about yourself, what interested you in joining the Housing Commission, or anything you feel comfortable sharing. Who would like to go first?
So, yeah, so hello, my name is Will Ostler. I grew up originally in Southern Oregon. I went to Colorado East and moved back here in 2018. And I've been in Palo Alto and Menlo Park since then. The reason I wanted to join the Housing Commission was, you know, I've seen the impact that the housing availability crisis here has on our communities. I really want to make sure that we move forward with building enough housing that everybody can be a part of our communities, and still preserve the things that make us like a really great place to live. So.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, I'm Kevin Cranen, and I'm a 26-year resident of Menlo Park. I live in Vintage Oaks. I have a wife and 2 20-something-year-old kids who are in the working world now. Neither of them lives in Menlo Park right now, but I think both would like to live here someday. So that's kind of one of the reasons housing is very high on my list. The other thing that I mean, I do a bunch of things, you know, I'm retired or on gap year, whatever you want to call it. But do a number of different activities. One of them is tutoring in Bellhaven. Another one is, actually active in a couple of groups, Menlo Forward, which is trying to prevent the monstrosity housing negative building that's going up where Sunset is. But also with Menlo Together, which is much more focused on housing, so. Both active in both those groups, so it's fine.
Thanks, Commissioner. And Commissioner Wong?
I am Carol Wong, really happy to be here and meet everyone. I have been a resident of Menlo Park for 10 years. I have 3 young children who go to the schools here, so really love being here, really friendly. You know, kids grow up and want to live here as well when they're older. I have also been a member of the Finance and Audit Commission for the past 4 years. So really coming into the Housing Commission sort of with maybe more of a finance focus and trying to understand kind of financing that goes on and hopefully contribute and help in that manner as well. And also I've just really enjoyed serving in that last Finance Audit Commission. So really hoping to just explore another commission and understand how things work. And I live close to downtown where, you know, there's definitely a lot of all my neighbors and everyone is really talking about the projects that potentially are going on there. So want to sort of represent their views as well as a member here. So that's fine.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. And we will move on to item D2 to select a chair and vice chair of the Housing Commission. Management Analyst Ariana Milton will give a brief introduction to the item.
All right, good evening, everyone, commissioners, staff, members of the public. Tonight I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to agenda item D1, which is to select a chair and vice chair of the Housing Commission. And just to give a little bit of background, so according to City Council Policy 24-004, the chair and the vice chair shall be selected on an annual rotating basis in each May of each year by the majority of members. And they're supposed to serve for 1 year or until their successors are selected. So this process was done back in May of 2024. However, by August, both the chair and vice chair at that time ended up having to, due to just a variety of different reasons. So we repeated the process in August. So in August, we went through the selection process. We actually ended up selecting 2 of our previous members, Commissioner Merriman and Commissioner Trempont as chair and vice chair respectively. However, fate has a way of doing things, and Commissioner Merriman actually reached her term limit. So last Housing Commission was her last meeting. And then also Commissioner Trempont decided not to elect to return to the Housing Commission due to personal reasons. So now we're back in May. We're at the time where we need to pick a new chair and vice chair. So that is what we are asking you to do today. And with that, I will return the meeting to Commissioner Beasley.
All right, this item is now open for public comment. Ariana, do we have any public comment?
Okay, we don't have any public comment.
Okay, so that means this item is open for Housing Commission clarifying.
I do have a question. So I presume Commissioner Beasley and Pia and Schlitzler have been here for a while. So kind of curious as to how you have all been on this commission and whether you're all interested in chair or vice chair roles.
Yes, anyone share on that? Go ahead, Commissioner Switzer.
Yeah. Definitely, let's see here. I think we're, at least for myself, running on about the 10-month mark, so a little shy of a year. So in relative terms, pretty new to the commission as well. But I think as management analysts noted, there's been quite a bit of turnover with this commission. So I think I live in Menlo Park, and I would express an interest in either of the roles. So just putting that out there.
Oh, I actually wanted to ask, what would be, or what are some of the responsibilities of those two roles?
So essentially, the chair would conduct the meetings. They would call to order, basically facilitate the meetings. And then, also maybe start up the discussion points whenever agenda items come up for regular business. Give any updates as far as things they may want to see on the future agendas down the line as the meeting goes on. And then as far as the vice chair goes, they're kind of there to fill in when the chair is unavailable. So they're kind of like that balance, in case the chair has like other obligations they have to fill, the vice chair kind of steps into the role and like needs to be comfortable kind of doing the same things that the chair can do.
So the primary is just the actual monthly meetings or additional.
Yes, and I will say that Tim, our housing manager, he's not present today, but he will normally meet with the chair before the meeting, just based on the chair's schedule. There's nothing like specifically set, just as long as he meets with them before the meeting starts. It just kind of goes over the agenda, if they have any questions beforehand, and yeah, that's pretty much the extent of the commitment. There is a chance that the chair and or vice chair may want to serve on like another subcommittee that is created, but that's of course up to them. That's not a requirement, but that's just like a possibility.
The only other thing I was gonna add, well, one other thing, there's an annual report out to the city council on updates on the work plan and work done by the commission. Typically, that's the chair or the vice chair or together.
Okay, I can also share, I've been on the housing commission for a year and a month at this point. I, am a little short on time in my life, so I definitely would be open to potentially vice chair if there's no other interest. But I, do not think I necessarily want to go for chair. Any other interests or?
I'm same with you. I'm so short on time. I would hate to commit to something I can't deliver.
Makes sense.
I could be the co-chair.
Maybe.
Nothing wrong with being a third alternate.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion and second for election of chair of the housing commission?
I'll motion to elect Commissioner Switzler as chair and Beely as vice chair.
I'll second, yeah.
I'll third that.
Okay, so we're gonna do chair and vice chair as two different motions.
Okay.
So but it seems like we have the same commissioners asking for the same thing, so. So it looks like we have a motion by Commissioner Wong and Commissioner Cranen to select Commissioner Switzer as chair. And then right now I'll just do a roll call vote. So we'll go with that. Commissioner Beely,
Aye.
Commissioner Dumont is absent. Commissioner Cranen.
Aye.
Commissioner Ostler.
Aye.
Commissioner Portillo.
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer.
Yes.
Is that right?
And Commissioner Wong.
Aye.
Awesome. Motion passes at 6-0 for the selection of Commissioner Switzer as chair of the Housing Commission. Congratulations. All right, and then as far as vice chair, so it looks like we had again a motion by Commissioner Wong and Commissioner Cranen to select Commissioner Beely as vice chair. I will go ahead and do a roll call vote again. Commissioner Beely.
Aye.
Commissioner Dumont is absent. Commissioner Cranen.
Yes.
Commissioner Ostler.
Aye.
Commissioner Portillo.
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wong.
Aye.
Awesome. Motion passes 6-0 for the selection of Commissioner Beely as Vice Chair of the Housing Commission. Congratulations. So, luckily, I sent this to him beforehand, just in case. So Commissioner Switzer, if you want to take over, you can.
Sure. Let me open this document up. Bear with me here.
No worries.
All right, just for a little wayfinding, let's see. We are on
D3.
D3. All right. All right. So moving on to another action item. So we are here to approve the Housing Commission meeting minutes from the March 5th meeting. And let's see here. It's we can open it up for public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Sorry, I have to keep looking at you guys. No, we do not have any public comments at this time.
All right. Let's see, I can open it up to the commission if there's any clarifying questions or discussion on this item. Any typos or? All right, well, if there's no other comments, I can entertain a motion.
Motion to approve meeting minutes.
Second.
All right, so it looks like we have a motion by Commissioner Beely and a second by Commissioner Ostler to approve the Housing Commission meeting minutes for March 5th, 2025. I'll now do a roll call vote. Commissioner Beely? Aye. Commissioner Dumont is absent. Commissioner Crane?
Yes.
Commissioner Ostler?
Yes.
Commissioner Portillo?
Yes.
Chair Switzer?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wong. All right, motion passes 6-0.
All right, well, let's hear it for D4. So this is for an action item to review and recommend to the City Council some modifications to the Habitat for Humanity of Greater San Francisco Home Preservation Program. Management Analyst Adam Patterson will now give a presentation on the item.
Thank you, Chair Switzer. So tonight we're going to talk about the Habitat for Humanity Greater San Francisco Home Rehab and Preservation Loan Program and requested modifications to that program. I think for the benefit of the group, I'll give a little bit of background on the below market rate housing fund, where these funds come from. So when a developer of a project cannot provide below market rate housing units, typically that's a commercial project, they pay what is an in lieu fee to the city. These funds are placed in the city's BMR fund, and that a fund from which city awards monies to projects, typically towards the production or preservation of affordable housing throughout the city. So an example of a recently funded project that you may be aware of is the city gave $2 million to Midpen for the 100% affordable housing project at the VA site that broke ground this year. And so Habitat submitted an application for funding for this preservation program. And slide please.
Can I ask one question? What is the per unit, what is the in lieu typically?
That's a great question. It's done per square foot of the development. So, and it depends on there's two different, there's like an A and B development type. Development type, and depending on what type of, if it's, I don't know off the top of my head, so I don't want to say anything that's too negative, but it's per square foot, and then whatever the development is, then they would pay a fee based on that.
It's municipal code 16,006.
I just can't remember what the numbers were and how many, units it takes to get one, to actually create one unit, but that's.
So on May 9th, 2023, the city council adopted a resolution to authorize the city manager to execute a community funding agreement with Habitat for their home rehabilitation program in the Bellhaven neighborhood. There was an award of $1.2 million in the form of a grant from the BMR Housing Fund. These are for home rehabilitation loans to low-income homeowners in Bellhaven, with loan terms of 30 years, 0% interest, deferred until sale or transfer. The program has a goal of up to 20 rehab projects between $40,000 to $75,000 per project. And the loan repayments are to be put into a revolving loan fund to be used for future rehabilitation projects. The agreement was executed on June 8th, 2023, with a 3-year funding term until June 30th, 2026. So some of the program outreach and marketing activities that Habitat has undertaken since the execution of the agreement. They've had 7 tabling events between October 2023 and April 2025, including the Housing Resource Fair in Bellhaven, open house events at the Bellhaven Community Campus, a couple of Love Our Earth events, one recently, and National Night Out. They also undertook 2 door-to-door canvassing events, reaching 762 homes in Bellhaven. This was in June 2024 and October 2024, and 1 postcard mailer to all of Bellhaven residents.
And I'm assuming there's like Spanish language outreach as well.
For the current program status, through these activities, Habitat had 50 leads in the program that resulted in 9 applications and 3 successful applications. Those are undergoing either in loan document execution or project scoping. And the unsuccessful applications were for a number of reasons, including an existing mortgage or tax assessment delinquency, which is not allowed by the program criteria. In some cases, a reluctance to provide additional information to continue the process, or also just simply being no longer interested or becoming unresponsive. Habitat typically scopes these projects at that $75,000 limit. So when the program was initially approved and was going in back in 2021 and then even 2023, at that cost had gone up significantly for construction. So at the time, thinking it was going to be around $40,000 to $50,000, really they're going to be around $75,000, and that's what they scope these projects at. So with the 3 projects they have in the pipeline, that leaves approximately $785,000 for other rehab projects. And the challenges faced by Habitat, the Habitat program are similar to what our sustainability division has experienced with its no-cost home upgrade electrification program, which recently presented program modifications to the City Council in March of this year. The city received a letter from Habitat in March of this year to request the following program modifications: to extend the program funding term by an additional 12 months through June 30th, 2027, to expand the geographic eligibility area to all of Menlo Park. Habitat's data suggests that approximately 2,000 additional households would become eligible with this modification, and to increase the eligible area median income, or AMI, from low, which is 80% of AMI, to moderate, which is 120% of AMI for Bellhaven homeowners. And to give reference about the AMI numbers, 80% for a family of 4 right now is $156,650, and 120% would bring that up for a family of 4 to $223,900. And this modification in particular, Habitat has 3 identified households in Bellhaven that would qualify if this was increased to moderate. And it's important to note that so there's a portion of the original funding of $1.2 million, $189,950, I believe, is designated for Habitat's marketing and administration costs. And Habitat believes that the existing marketing administration funding is sufficient for the program extension and for the outreach necessary. Staff recommends to approve these requested modifications. So this is to extend the funding term by 12 months until June 2027, June 30th, 2027. Staff finds that this is consistent with other agreement funding terms, and based on Habitat's estimation of 6 months from application to loan document execution, should provide ample time to expend the additional funds. Expanding the geographic eligibility area from Bellhaven neighborhood to all of Menlo Park. Staff is recommending an additional modification along with this, that 70% of the funds remain allocated to Bellhaven until June 30th, 2026. Because this rehab program was primarily designed to be a Bellhaven focused anti-displacement measure to help preserve homes in the neighborhood, city staff are recommending that this addition to help keep with that original intent as much as possible, while also allowing funds to be used expeditiously. And then finally, to increase the eligible area median income from that low of 80% to moderate of 120% for Bellhaven homeowners, Bellhaven neighborhood only. Staff finds again that this helps keep with the original intent of the focus on Bellhaven, while increasing the eligible AMI in Bellhaven only. And it's also similar to a council directed modification to that home upgrade program that I spoke about previously, which they'll be doing that as well.
I think it's what owner occupied.
Correct, yes. And then so next steps, if it is recommended for approval to city council tonight, staff will work to develop an amended agreement and present this to city council for consideration later in the summer of 2025. And if council were to approve it at that point, Habitat can implement and market the modified program soon after. Habitat and staff will collaborate to market the modified program through activities such as city digest posts, digital content at city facilities, and additional tabling and mailings. And Habitat is confident that these modifications and these additional marketing activities will result in greater program success. Thank you very much. And Pam Dorr is here from Habitat to answer questions, and staff is here as well to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Adam. So I guess we can open this for public comment. Is there anyone in the room or online?
There's no one online for public comments and no one in the room either.
I have,
Oh,
I have a couple,
yes.
whenever.
Oh. Next.
Yeah, we can open it for commission discussion now. So proceed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing, I love Habitat. I can't say, I shouldn't, but I will because it's such a great program. I think I have a couple of questions and maybe they have been answered. So first of all, I think in the Bellhaven area, there's a lot of housing that is not owned by the tenants. They have owners and they don't live in the home. And so I think you mentioned something about owner occupied. So I don't know if that's something that's incorporated or part of that, reaching out. And if so, I need clarification as far as like, is that something that the homeowner's gonna have to apply or the tenants? Is that?
Thank you for asking. It's a really good question. The program itself was designed to help people to stay in their homes. So it's not intended for rental. So it's only for owners that occupy a home. If there's two homes on the property, we can only work within the home the owner lives in.
So if the homeowner, and I have a follow-up question, if that's okay. So if the homeowner decides that they're going to apply for the people that are living in the house, right? Is there any way to actually protect those tenants or guidelines to work with the renters? Because, the homeowners are making the decision and obviously they could qualify if this ranges go up to 120.
That's a great question. So the question is really, could we work for a tenant occupied home? And we cannot. The way the program was written was intended for people that live in their homes, not for landlords that rent them. So right now, the answer would be no, the way the current program is written.
That's what I think that makes a lot of sense.
And if it's a combo where it's, owner with, renting the garage or,
Yeah, so, say there was a home and the owner rented a room in the home, no problem, we can work in that home. If there was a separate unit that was maybe a junior ADU or an ADU, we work in the unit that the owner lives in, typically.
Could you talk a little bit more, I have a follow-up question, sorry, a little bit more about one of the contract clauses that you have here? Which is 17, no conflict of interest. So each party warrants to the other that no members of the government body of the city or Habitat or no other officials of either party during her tenature and for 1 year thereafter shall have any interest direct or indirect in any contract or subcontract. Should I continue reading? Or that proceeds thereof for work to be performed in connection with the project or the agreement, and Habitat shall incorporate a clause to be incorporated in all such contracts or subcontracts pertaining to the projects or provision prohibiting such interest pursuant to the purposes of this certification.
Yeah, do you have a question about?
Yeah, could you elaborate just a little bit more what all that means?
That meant, say, one of the commissioners, had a home and they qualified, could we go in and repair it for them? We are not able to for 1 year after they end being a commissioner, and then they would be eligible.
Got it.
So something like that, or maybe someone on the city council would like to have this program, and they qualified for it, would we be able to work for them? And we would not, based on this clause.
Got it. Perfect. I think that was all.
I guess I have a question. So, my understanding is that this program is kind of a continuation of a similar program that ran from 2021 onwards. That program was also in Bellhaven. Were there similar issues with finding sites then, or was this something that seems to have changed between then and now?
So I think a clarification, the program in 22, this is the same program. It was originally approved by city council in 2021.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was a change in city procedure with that. The funding agreement did not go to city, was not seen by city council. There was before that, all the documents were executed. There was a change in city procedure where for agreements such as this, the agreement had to be brought before city council and approved before it could be executed by the city manager. So there was a delay there.
I see.
For West, yeah.
So all the stuff I found in 2021 actually came into effect.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess many of my other questions were based on that. I guess the only other follow-up I have, I saw you guys have done pretty extensive outreach, but have you considered partnering with local organizations that get the word out, or is outreach like part of what you guys would consider sweat equity for these projects?
We do, we can use volunteers for sweat equity. We have a pretty robust, the two door hanging and door knocking campaigns we did. We incorporated a lot of volunteers and our staff who run our entire crew down. And it was really fun. So we got to talk one-on-one with homeowners and renters and anyone who's walking by. So that was really kind of a robust, but we also invited community partners with us.
Sure.
And we passed out their flyers and they passed out our flyers. So we all kind of worked together. We're also part of the, trying to find energy efficient improvements for homeowners through Peninsula Clean Energy. And so of course we partner with them and we continue meeting with them monthly, and we share files for the homeowners with the homeowner's approval, so they don't have to reapply. And we combine our scopes of work. So if somebody needed electrical panel upgrade and solar and new appliances, and they were free through that program, there's no reason to take a loan through this program.
Sure.
So we try and figure out the best way to help a family. We spend a lot of time working on our scopes of work together.
Thank you.
So one quick question, I'm not super familiar with this program, but it sounds like the unit being owner occupied is sort of a key criteria for getting the loan. So I was wondering, how do you ensure it continues to be owner occupied? Has that been an issue, or?
Yeah, so they have to be an owner to apply and get approved, and we use documentation that HUD requires as part of the process. So something like 2 utility bills, taxes, bank statements, those are all documents we would use normally in the application process. So we have to make sure everything's consistent. We don't require credit, but we do pull a credit report to show where they do live. So we're following up a few times, and at the time of closing, they have to owner occupy the home. In the future, as long as they stay in the home and they don't sell the home, there's no trigger for repayment. But if they were to sell the home in the future, there's a trigger for repayment, or there's a change of title.
Gotcha.
And then there's an income certificate or a residency certification that's provided annually, and you have to resend those documents. So it's a certification that they do occupy.
Oh.
And that's for the life of the program.
So let me ask a question. I mean, what was it, 782 to 3, down to 3? That's like a really challenging pipeline. What do you think is the biggest challenge?
There's a couple things. I think, I think as our population ages, and a lot of us are getting older, there's some risk in taking a loan. People are concerned about that. We are seeing in other jurisdictions, Habitat runs, projects like this in 3 other counties. And right now we have about $8 million in our loan pool to lend out. We do find like next door in Redwood City, they decided to do a 20-year forgivable or a 5-year forgivable loan. So it disappears in 5 years. No problem with uptake on that. Everyone is applying. But a lot of seniors, especially when you get to be 60, 70, your home really does need repair. As you're staying in your home over time, if you're not under Prop 13, your property taxes in San Mateo County are increasing about 8.4% per year, but your income isn't. So you really have that cost burden of maintaining a home over time. So there's a lot. We also have an aging housing stock and kind of stagnant income. So sometimes that will make it difficult, and you'd think a lot of people would apply, but because as we get older, we're kind of reluctant to take a 20 or a 30-year loan as we age. There's less likelihood of taking that. So maybe it's the product as well. The loan terms itself that are difficult.
I was gonna ask one other question. I mean, of that, I guess this was no breakdown, but of that number, how many of them were income disqualified, and, you know, and.
There were 3 that were over income.
Well, but I'm talking about just even entering the pipeline and, you know, kind of.
The waterfall for the pipeline is really interesting. Bellhaven has the right income category for this loan. The majority of the residents there are within 80% of AMI or below. So the income factor is right.
Okay.
Maybe going a little higher helps. So we could see if there's a little bit more uptake there. But I think in general, I think as we get older, there's some risk aversion to taking a long-term loan. And a lot of us, as we pass on, we don't want to leave debt for our children.
Plus, this is a 0%, right?
0% interest. You only owe back what
Well-
you bought.
Don't beat that.
Well,
And I'll add, we do have another program, a much smaller program through Rebuilding Together, which is, they're more like $20,000, and that is a grant, and it's also in Bellhaven, and that has had a little more traction, I think, in smaller amounts, but also just, again, that idea of taking on a loan versus this grant is a big difference. Yeah.
It's different because this one, the rebuilding, you don't have to pay.
Correct, yeah.
But this one, it only gets triggered if you sell or.
It's a deferred payment. You're absolutely right. So no payments are due over the life of the loan.
How long is that? 38 or
This one's a 20-year.
20 year?
30
30 years, is that 30 years? Okay.
year.
But you do have, and the other thing I heard is that you would have 3 in the wing if the income cap is.
We could have some additional ones. Yes, absolutely. And we did contact those folks just to see if it's still.
Double check if there was a yes.
And so just for clarification, what you mentioned is that sort of within Bellhaven, most people meet the criteria. However, they're not applying for a 0% interest loan.
Correct.
How crazy.
Their debt first.
Sorry. It's not the old people not applying, it's everyone is not, okay.
Yeah.
And
There were a couple of people that had, we pull title as part of this to make sure that they do own the home. We do a title report, and a couple people fell out because they did have some liens. We've worked with them in the meantime, and over time they could clear those. So we do continue to work with them over time, and if they do clear them, of course they could reapply as well.
May I add that I think there's, there's a lot of Latin families in Bellhaven, and I think most of the time they don't believe that 0%.
Right,
Yes.
we've heard that a lot.
Yeah, they don't believe that, and I think it really takes somebody to go and talk to them, sit down and like maybe after coffee and like maybe them feeding you and all that stuff.
Then, yes.
Then they'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So it's, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of outreach, but it's very generous, what you guys are offering, I think.
I'm glad you brought it up. It's so important, I think, to make sure that our services are in all languages. Anyone can request even kind of crazy languages and we can still meet with them. And we provide all of our marketing materials in both Spanish and English. And half of our staff speaks Spanish, so everyone came out and was able to talk. But we also work with any community work in the area, so that if that's a trusted resource, we also work with faith-based organizations. So we go to the churches, we talk to them, we make sure they have flyers too. And in addition to this, Habitat has another program through Housing and Community Development from California called the HCD. We have a Cal Home Award for $1.5 million to repair mobile homes in the county, and that's up to $150,000 at 0%. So we have other programs too. So sometimes we just want to talk to people because they might know someone who needs the other program. So we try and share all that info. And we also have a house coming up for sale in the next month over in East Palo Alto, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Saw that.
Look at that. We just did a lottery that closed last week for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And then next week, we're opening up one for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. But just, we try and share all that information as well, because everybody wants to know what else is going on in the world.
I shared that because it's such a good, you know,
I guess I will note, I guess when I was kind of researching for this, I did notice that for whatever reason, the search engine optimization in English seemed to be a little more robust. Like when I searched for like Menlo Park cheap home repair in English, it popped up first result and it was the, you know, one box, but it did the same in Spanish and it wasn't on the first page for whatever.
And that was with Google, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
well,
good? We
yeah.
can work on the optimization.
Yeah, I actually, to be fair, I do not know if this is where elderly people in Belhaven are going for their information, but yeah, I just. thought
Thank
I'd
you, I
comment.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think another thing is, because I went to the the fair that was on Saturday. Yeah, and the gentleman I have met him and he was at the table.
Abraham or
Uh-huh.
Sergio, yeah.
Yeah, one of those two, but I think one of the things that I did notice with the fair, there were a lot of families from Belhaven that I saw personally, but it was, I mean, you know, but again, I think, like you said, you guys are reaching out to, churches and, you know, there's a lot of events that are happening also that I think we're getting good about communicating, and I think you guys are doing outreach for that matter as well.
Yeah, if you hear of something we're not doing, we want to do it. So if any of you know of something, just let Adam know and he'll let me know within a second. He's very fast. Yeah, because we want to be part of that. And I think we did get 5 referrals, and quite a few that were out of the service area. They said there weren't as many Belhaven and Menlo Park folks around, but there were tons of people from away, which was really surprising for our crew that was there. They really enjoyed themselves.
One more question, Jeremy. So the 3 that are advancing, how close are they to fruition or are they already in the loan funding stage?
Yeah, so they haven't signed their documents. Their scopes of work are completed and they're about to do that. We've completed the environmental review of those properties. So they're all set to go and we're ready to sign.
I bet that's also a, you know, real vehicle for endorsement, I mean, to really get endorsement. Somebody says, yeah, I got this loan, I mean, I got it.
I think we followed it. I think we've got the same kind of line of thinking. What we decided to do right off was go to one of the homes. We have a Habitat homeowner living in Belhaven and we did a yard cleanup. And we set up cookies and lemonade outside and then we brought all the volunteers in and spent the day. And we had a lot of people walk up and talk to us and it was probably the best referral we had is when we're there in the community working. So we do have signs, and as we're doing these first 3 homes, we are expecting to get a lot more people to relax and trust us. And our staff is just great about chatting, they're chatters. So we hope that that will be really beneficial.
I just had a few comments myself. I mean, just out the gate, fully supportive of the work that you guys are doing in this program, and you know, staff's recommendation, which is on the screen for the 3 items for extending that term, expanding the area, and also the income and requirements. I think, you know, considering only 3 applications were eligible to say move forward out of the batch, I think, you know, these 3 items and modifications to that will hopefully increase the pool that we see, and we'll be able to get some more folks applying and being eligible. So with that, I can entertain a motion if anyone has one, or if there's.
I'm ready to say yes.
Yeah.
Seconded, yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. So we have a motion by Commissioner Portillo and a second by Vice Chair Beely to recommend approval to the City Council modifications to the Habitat for Humanity Greater San Francisco Home Preservation Program. I will now do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Beely? Aye. Commissioner Dumont is absent. Commissioner Cranium?
Yes.
Commissioner Ostler?
Yes.
Commissioner Portillo?
Yes.
Chair Switzer?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wong. Okay, motion passes 6-0.
All
I
right.
just wanted to know if you could share the materials so that I know what marketing materials actually go out. Like, I haven't seen them, so would be curious to.
Since this is gonna be spread out, you might get it in the mail. You might get a postcard.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations. Thank you. Moving right along, we can go to agenda item E, reports and announcements. And do we have any individual commissioner updates on this item? I have 2 items myself, but I can wait if there's any others.
What kinds of updates would commissioners typically have right about now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question. Well, let's see, based on some previous meetings, just some updates of either maybe engagement with the community or knowledge of, you know, maybe some state law changes with the ever-changing legislation that we have in our state. So anything that might, you know, be applicable or fall, say, within this commission scope would be appropriate to be discussing at this time. And on that, I could jump into my 2 items. So one item I kind of jumping ahead a little bit for future agenda items would be, since we do have some new members here on the commission and some members who have also, you know, been on other boards and commissions with the city, if I could request that maybe we have some either simple Brown Act training or just a refresher perhaps, that would be, I think, really great to kind of have just maybe a quick staff report, or maybe if there's some resources that the city already has. I think that would be a great thing to have.
So question for the city staff, I thought in May and June, there's like a everyone training, is that happening or?
Yes, that's being organized by the city clerk's office.
Oh.
They normally will take all of the new commissioners that come on board and they put you guys all in one space and kind of go over the Brown Act and all the other like things that you guys have to follow. It's normally just like a session.
I wanted to add, I actually attended an open government and ethics training with the Santa Clara County. And I thought it was so timely as far as like getting appointed. So I was thinking, hoping to kind of piggyback off what Commissioner Switzer was mentioning about having brownout training, maybe having ethics, something a little bit more elaborate on open government and, yeah.
What organization was the one you attended?
Santa Clara County, yeah. It was the city of Santa Clara though that was hosting this training, but it was really good.
And then my last item was if we could potentially maybe form an ad hoc committee. Maybe it needs to require being scheduled at a hearing, but for community engagement, I would be interested in having that come forward.
That's actually a good segue into staff updates, just because the formation of an ad hoc committee was actually something that we were supposed to do in April's agenda, but we weren't able to get quorum, so we ended up moving it to June. So next month, we'll actually have that on the agenda to go through that process.
Perfect.
So I do have a question on sort of new commissioner onboarding. At least in the Finance Audit Commission, we sort of had a subcommittee to do onboarding, and part of it was for sort of commissioners that had been there for a while to take on like a new commissioner and just talk about what's been going on and what's been discussed and what the work plan is, where things are, what subcommittees there are. So I was wondering if that's something we collectively would be interested in, because obviously being new, I would be interested in, at least what's gone on without having to go through all of the meeting minutes and like trying to figure out like who said what when. Yeah,
I think that's definitely great. So there are two ways we can do that. Kind of stepping on Adam's toes a little bit, but as part of staff updates, we were also going to let you know that we're going to have an intro to the Housing Commission presentation next month. We're trying to make sure that all of our new commissioners were here, just missing Commissioner Dumont. So hopefully she's gonna be able to join us and we can have it all together as just kind of like a general overview of Housing Commission, like responsibilities, role, like maybe even get into information on our BMR program, like things like that. And then, but we at the same time, before we even thought of having this presentation, the housing manager and I would meet with each individual commissioner before they started. But because the application or picking of you guys was so close to this commission meeting, we just did not have the ability to like meet with you guys already. So we can also do that as well, just to kind of maybe give you more details. But we will have that that general, like big kind of overview next commission meeting.
no, that's really helpful.
Kind of related and probably can wait given that context, but I was going to ask whether the passport plans are accessible somewhere for comparison purposes.
Yeah, they're in our passage in the minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, they're in.
But that's one thing that is in the presentation is going over
Okay.
that the current work plan, because it's going to be August and September very soon. So we'll actually need to revise that or make changes if the commission sees fit to the next one. So that's definitely something that's on our agenda.
Sounds like we'll have a virtual meeting.
Yeah, I'm taking the rest of the staff updates. Okay, so as far as the other ones, hired and
Can I ask you one second?
Yeah.
I know that they're somewhat interconnected, right? I'm wondering how much there'll be education on housing element and where we are in the cycle and what's gonna happen as a result of that as well.
That's something that we can definitely put on the agenda. We've had a kind of like our progress report for both of those items. We've had Principal Planner Tom Smith came a couple months ago and did like a presentation on like the progress and how well that was going. So if you'd like, we can definitely pass that along to him and ask for those people to come back those reps and give you guys a presentation and open the forum for any questions that you might have.
I'm also, just kind of interested in kind of what the pipeline looks like.
Yeah. How it's all interconnected.
Yeah, it's all interconnected,
Yeah, how you guys come into play. Definitely, we can do that too.
And I
Because I saw
do.
that, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that meeting was recorded, so that's available online. So I mean that probably would be a great resource to go back to, and then I think
Super.
any questions we can always direct to staff for follow-up.
That was February, right, with the update. Or,
Yeah, I think that was effective.
Yes.
Because I saw that SRI was on the last agenda, the next step going to planning, and so, kind of also interesting just how that piece works, it goes here, then here, then here. Then.
So. I'll definitely do that. And then just our last update. Wanted to give you guys some information on our anti-displacement strategy implementation, like how that's going. So that was something that was outlined in our housing element, something that we needed to implement. And so our next big piece, our survey was launched back on April 25th. And that's currently in rotation. It closes May 26th. And it's basically just to solicit feedback from the community to see kind of what policies and programs they feel like would be efficient in informing our anti-displacement strategy. So essentially keeping people housed and in place. That's the overall like huge goal of it. And then basically we're trying to figure out what programs and policies that we could implement that can aid to that. So the survey is gonna allow us to get feedback, and that feedback will then kind of inform what we decide or what we believe would be best, or would be successful for the community to help with anti-displacement. And then from there, we would take it to city council for a study session. That's probably not going to happen until maybe late summer, early fall, but we'll see how that goes. But just want to kind of give you guys a heads up. And that's also this anti-displacement strategy implementation is also mentioned in your work plan too. So it is important that you guys are involved. Yeah. That's all for staff updates. Unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you. It sounds like we'll have a eventful next meeting. So
Yes. Chocolate.
well, if there's no other comments, I can adjourn the meeting at 7:30 on the dot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.